lot of things done. No, that's good. That's what breaks are for, not to do anything. Okay, so we have to change a few things in the syllabus, mainly related to guest speakers. Okay, because they're having a few changes in people who are coming, who are not coming, etc. And in the program, as we skipped last class before the break, for you to work on the project. So this week, let me get this. This week we're gonna work on this idea of the innovation engine, which is basically summarized in this book, Ingenious, by Tina Selig, a neuroscientist from Stanford who works in the Center for Entrepreneurship there at Stanford University, and is a very well-known speaker as well, who has worked with many professional groups. Many of the things that she says and she has put into her method, we have seen, and you will find many things familiar, and some will hear some echoes from things that we have already worked on. But even so, it's a very good methodology, very systematic to work through a series of skills and exercises that will help you develop your creativity in specific terms. Next week, we have both days filled up with presentations. On Tuesday, Anita will come back for the pitches of the team assignments. Since we don't have the time to go over, I think it's at the end, some people broke into two-person team. There were loose people, so there are like 17 or 18 teams. So we're gonna make a selection of 8, 10 more or less, and those will present on Tuesday for her, okay? She will evaluate the presentations with me. And then another selection will be made out of the first assignment. For people, again, 8, 7, 9, to present 2 minutes during the Thursday class, okay? Since it's only 1 hour, we are not gonna have that much time. But even so, I would like some people to present.
Is that in March that you're talking about, or during our presentations?
Yes, next week.
It's not this Thursday.
No. This is this week. 27th, 26th, 27th of February?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's when it's due, the project?
The project is due Thursday.
Okay. And then is it the next? Okay.
The Tuesday, yeah. Yeah.
For people presenting assignment 1, you've already selected that a while back ago, right?
No.
They already volunteered.
There are some volunteers, and I'm going to email some people to ask them to volunteer more. Okay? So you will receive an email. If you're interested, just talk to me at the end of the class or email me. No? Okay. What else we have here? Okay. Following week. Okay, we have networks of innovation. I'm gonna try to, it's gonna be difficult. We're gonna try to put together there also the idea of social innovation, which has come out of as we're gonna study, of a group working on complexity and the sciences out of Waterloo mainly, not only, but out of Waterloo in the Center for Complex Systems there. And we'll go through some of the samples that they are gonna working on. But that Thursday, we will have Joel Adams, who is an entrepreneur from this area of London and South Ontario. When he was a student, he was able to put together the program in engineering and business that now it has been offered for a few years, the combined honors in engineering and business. He was also the director of a research park of the university. So he has a wide experience in different fields. Then the week of 19th and 21st, we're going to have 2 guest speakers, okay? Even if we only have 1 here. On the Thursday, we'll receive a member of the Hyperdrive and Community Tech Hub of Waterloo Kitchener, who will talk to you about the possibilities there if you want to do something around that and what things people are doing there with startups and different projects. But on the Tuesday, we'll go over Richard Florida's idea of the creative class in the first hour. And in the second hour, we'll have an architect originally from Iran, but working out of a university in Sweden, talking to us about design thinking and the relationships between architecture, the design industry, and digital architecture. Several things that she's working on at her lab at the university in Sweden, and with different companies as well. Okay, so we'll have 1 hour of class. Mania will come at 2:30, and then on Thursday we'll have this guy from Waterloo. Following week, Tuesday, we'll work on Liar and storytelling to help you start the final assignment on the story using augmented reality. And we'll have a teleconference with a senior member of the Royal Bank to give you their insights on the challenges that they are facing. Okay? Following week, we'll have speakers almost every week. Have Mark Daly, who is a mathematician in computer science here at Western, working both on neurosciences and computer science. And we'll be talking about artificial intelligence and creative machines, and we'll read one of his articles. And he will talk on the Thursday. And final week, we'll use it up to again make a selection, some teams, so that they can present on the Royal Bank of Canada assignment. We'll get to that point later on. Okay, so except for this week, we'll have 1 or 2 speakers, I think, every single week from now on. Any questions about this? Any clarifications? The syllabus is updated in the link that you have, so you can check it out there. All the other materials are the same. The telephone app is with fewer bugs already for Android and iPhones and iPads. And Friday evening you will have the 3 levels missing from the game for you to download. Okay, 6, 7 or so in the evening. Assignment number 1, that is creating some concerns from some people. Where is this? Okay, I got an email from one of you yesterday, and he was asking what he had to hand in exactly. What I told him is that you only have to fulfill the 4 headlines that you have in the template, in the grading template. Okay, so first is frame the problem using design thinking techniques. Second, propose a remarkable solution. Third, using inception deck and agile techniques, how you are going to manage the implementation of the solution. And finally, using Lean Canvas, put some kind of business plan, some revenue model into how you are going to do it, how much it's going to cost, and how will you do it. He asked also in detail about agile techniques and Scrum or whatever methodology you are using. Do you have to specify what is it that every single you did? And he said, do we have to say who was the Scrum Master and the rest of the team, or do we have to say Scrum Master and this person in charge of marketing, this person in charge of this person in charge of that? And I would prefer that you do that. You say who was the Scrum Master, whatever role people had, and then the individual roles that each of you had. Okay? How detailed does the financial projections have to be? Answer, as accurate as possible, but I am also aware that you might not have all the information because you didn't have access to financial statements, and that you haven't had like a year to do all the research. So I think that the important thing is that the projections match and are consistent with whatever you are proposing. Okay, that they make sense. If they are not completely accurate, too bad. Okay, but if something is going to cost $500,000, don't do a financial projection for $5,000. Okay, try to really go as close as possible. Implementing the solution, how detailed? He asked, if we provide the budget, do we have to do something else? Yes, because the budget doesn't work by itself. So you have to say how you are going to manage the implementation of the solution. Okay, so you need a timeline and some roles that you will need to have in the group or in the company or wherever to do what you are proposing. Okay, again, as detailed as possible, but taking into account the time that you have had and the complexities of the project that you are trying to implement. And these were his questions. Any other questions about the project?
There's a link on OWL that has a list of sections, but it's kind of cut off from the left side.
Okay.
So I was wondering if you could maybe tell us what it said.
I think it's the problem of having two systems that I'm resourcing to when I want to send you an email, so that I'm sure that you all get information. But normally what we do is post announcements on the CulturePlex courses. So basically there, if I'm not wrong, what it says is the 4 parts. Frame the problem using design thinking techniques. That would be the first assignment. And within there, you can organize it as you think that your project will need it. So there is no established set of words or sub-headlines that you have to use. Organize it as you think. Second is propose a remarkable solution. Again, there is nothing inside that you have to match. Depending on what you are proposing, you will need something, or other people will need something else. Okay.
You gave us like the things you uploaded on OWL. There's like a bunch of things with numbers. What happens if none of us are in marketing or business and have absolutely no idea what to use those numbers for? Like, what doesn't have like
Okay.
The way you're saying to like do the project, like none of us really understand like how to use those numbers properly. So like, how do you expect us to do that and like make projections when we don't know? There's no like
for the financial model and all that. Okay. 2 questions. Apparently there is a large group of people here who understand those things. I'm not one of them. Okay? But there are people who are asking that because their background is in either business or organizational studies or whatever. If you don't want to do a financial projection, what you have to do is come out with a budget. Saying, okay, we are proposing this solution, it's going to be a one-time solution or something that's going to run for 1 year, and I'm going to need this kind of people who cost me this, or this machinery, or all this. Okay? Ideally, in the business plan, you'll have to say how you are going to benefit, or the festival, the company is going to benefit from that. And for that, there are many models. And we don't know exactly how they think, but it's not that they automatically recover every single dollar that they invest on something. So you can propose something that maybe is going to have a very diffuse way of recovering the money, because you are working, I don't know, in publicity or with young children or something like that. So you don't have to come up with a number to exact dollar, but be aware of the kind of solution that you are proposing, and especially work with a budget, so that you can see that you have really worked on the small details of the implementation. Okay. For people who want to work on the financial models, or you are proposing a financial solution to a problem, the other part is also okay. Okay. Since Anita is going to be here, she will be able to give you feedback about what you are proposing and what's their take on that solution in terms of the economics of the festival. Sorry, third part. Use Inception deck and agile techniques to manage the implementation of the solution. Basically, is how you're gonna unfold the solution within an already existing structure of the size of the festival. Are you gonna create a new unit to do that? It's gonna be done by the marketing department, if it's a marketing department, if there's a marketing solution involved, how you are gonna do it, how long it's gonna take. So try to plan in terms of, this is like all my assignments and my work for the rest of the term, but in a bigger scale, let's say. And finally, the revenue model, or the budget or the cost associated with the solution. So that would be the fourth part. Within that, you can write not whatever you want, but in whatever way you want it. So you decide how you organize it. Remember that one of the things that we have been working on when we have read or listened to people working on design thinking is that when they have a commission, one of the ways in which they are able to propose new solutions and really solve important problems is by rephrasing or going out of the directions that they have been given in the paper stating the conditions. So as long as you explain why you are moving things around and giving new shape to what you have been told, that's okay. So that's why you have a lot of leeway there to work on your own format and your own shape for the solution. More questions?
Just in terms of the business plan, do we have to do something like assignment 1 where we explain the lean canvas, or is lean canvas going to be mostly what it is?
If it's clearly explained there, that's okay now. Be careful with the two boxes in the lower part of the canvas, because it's the revenue and the costs. So try to be as exact as possible, at least in the categories. You don't have to go into detail. Yeah.
So I'm just a little confused as to like the section that you like want us to describe our roles, like each of our individual roles. Are we like a consulting company that Stratford's hiring to analyze, or are we like, do we work for Stratford? Like, who are we?
No. Okay, this is that confusion is justified. It's what roles you have been playing in the organization of your team.
No, exactly. But like, who are we? Like, do we work for the company? Because like, we can't have roles unless we know what we are to the company. Like,
okay. That depends on the solution. So you can say that you are just a consultant company proposing this solution, and let's say that you only work, those roles only make sense as you work together. Okay? But you can also say that you are implementing the solution, and that you are going to be the marketing person because it's a marketing solution, and you are going to implementing it. Okay? And you say, okay, since we are a marketing company or group, this person is going to be in charge of this, or is normally in charge of this, this person is in charge of this, etc., etc. So in that case, you are mimicking the structure of the work that you are doing with the structure that you are supposed to be doing for Stratford.
But like, even as like an executive summary, like we can't really write an executive summary of our company. Are we writing an executive summary of our group, or like?
No, it's executive summary is of the solution.
Okay.
So we're proposing this, and then in the part of the management methodology,
So
you say.
of like, yeah. We're already talking about our problem, our solution, everything in the paper. So
just use that for the a part of or a selection from that for the executive summary. So let's say that you're gonna be here in front of Anita on Tuesday, and you start by saying, okay, our solution is this in one sentence. You don't have to go into that kind of detail in the about roles in the presentation or in the executive summary. Okay. So the roles can be just the roles you are playing in the team just to do this, or the roles that you would bring for the solution to be implemented. More questions? Comments? Any difficulty that you're gonna theoretical or conceptual, or that you're gonna discuss about the project or the solution? No? Okay. If there are any, you can try to see me in the office, and we can work out whatever it is with the rest of the team. So let's get started with the class. Where am I? Okay, we're gonna start by watching a video that Crystal sent me about something that we did last 2 weeks on design thinking, and how design thinking works or has been used in the designing of the Google glasses that they are rolling out with a very interesting marketing campaign for the last few months now, with rumors like Larry Bring has been seen wearing those glasses in the New York Metro and appearances like that. So this is what one of the engineers have to say about how they prototype the solutions and how useful they are. Here.
Tom G. I spent 2 years of my life building the user experience team for the Google X division of Google. And it's a place I affectionately call the Department of Science Fiction because of the futuristic nature of the types of projects we took on. Self-driving cars, Google Glass, and other things that you'll see soon enough. So for those who haven't heard of this project, this is what Google Glass looks like. It allows you to overlay digital things into your eyesight while still maintaining being part of the world. So if I, were to pull out my cell phone and look into it, I'm basically out of this world now. Like I'm in my own little cell phone, tablet world, what have you. But Google Glass has the vision of allowing us to continue to be in the world, but also have access to the digital things that we need and we love. Now, I'm going to ask you a really simple question about Google Glass. How would you prototype this experience? How long do you think it would take you to make the first working version of a heads-up display?
Answers?
Okay, a little bit on the long side. The answer is 1 day. And here's what it looked like. So basically, the magic piece is the coat hanger. The coat hanger, I bent it in a specific shape, and the top loop goes around your neck, and then the bottom loop rests against your chest. And it allows me to carry a piece of plexiglass on which a little sheet protector. So these are the things that you put your book reports in so they don't get wet. Literally got it at the drugstore. Have it out at the end of the plexiglass, and then it gets projected onto with the Piker projector that's connected to a netbook. And using this setup, within 1 day, we were already able to start having the experience of what it looks like to have digital things overlaid on your physical world, be able to move around with it, and also use the netbook to try out tons and tons of different ideas around software. Now, after you start getting something like that working, a really important problem comes up. Like, you're wearing this thing on your head. It's like a pair of glasses, so you don't. My name is Tom Chi. I spent 2 years of my life building the user experience team for the Google X division of Google. And it's a place I affectionately called the Department of Science Fiction because of the futuristic nature of the types of projects we took on. Self-driving cars, Google Glass, and other things that you'll see soon enough. So for those who haven't heard of this project, this is what Google Glass looks like. It allows you to overlay digital things into your eyesight while still maintaining being part of a world. So if I were to pull out my cell phone and look into it, I'm basically out of this world now. Like I'm in my own little cell phone, tablet world, what have you. But Google Glass has the vision of allowing us to continue to be in the world, but also have access to the digital things that we need and we love. Now, I'm going to ask you a really simple question about Google Glass. How would you prototype this experience? How long do you think it would take you to make the first working version of a heads-up display? Okay, a little bit on the long side. The answer is 1 day. And here's what it looked like. So basically, the magic piece is the coat hanger. The coat hanger, I bent it in a specific shape, and the top loop goes around your neck, and then the bottom loop rests against your chest. And it allows me to carry a piece of plexiglass on which a little sheet protector. So these are the things that you put your book reports in so they don't get wet. I literally got it at the drugstore. Have it out at the end of the plexiglass, and then it gets projected onto with the Piker projector that's connected to a netbook. And using this setup, within 1 day, we were already able to start having the experience of what it looks like to have digital things overlaid on your physical world, be able to move around with it, and also use the netbook to try out tons and tons of different ideas around software. Now, after you start getting something like that working, a really important problem comes up. Like, you're wearing this thing on your head. It's like a pair of glasses. So you don't have a mouse or a keyboard or a touch screen, all the ways that you're used to interacting with a machine. So we thought for a second, well, maybe we could do something like what was shown in Minority Report. So for folks who haven't seen that, basically Tom Cruise is manipulating software with his hands in front of his face, and photos are flying over here, and his emails over here, and so on and so forth. So that's the same question again. How long do you think it would take to have the real experience of doing something like that? 2 years, okay. Somebody said 1 day. 45 minutes. So here's how it looks. So you wear the thing that we saw the first time because you need some way to go project things. But what happens is we got 2 hairbands, which I think was the hardest part. We had to go ask people for their hairbands. But you put one hand in each hairband, and attached to that hairband, we tied a fishing line. And the fishing line goes over the top of a whiteboard and then goes down to this little assembly that's taped to the floor. And what this means is every time I move my hand in any direction, it adds tension to the line, and it does the following with the assembly on the floor. So the other end of the fishing wire is attached to a chopstick. And it's not because I'm Asian, there's just a cafeteria nearby. I don't just carry chopsticks on me. But I tied it to the end of a chopstick, I clipped it into a binder clip, and then put it over a pen. And basically what happens then is when you move your arm and it produces tension on the wire, chopstick comes down like a lever and clicks a presentation clicker. One hand moves the presentation forward, the other hand moves the presentation backwards. So this was built in 45 minutes, and that meant shortly afterwards, we were having experiences like looking at an image gallery and saying, next image, previous image, or looking at our emails and saying, let me click into this email, let me click reply now. And this was exactly the experience of what it was like to go control software with your hands. And ultimately, what it taught us is we probably shouldn't have this in the product. We learned a lot of things about the social awkwardness of it and some of the ergonomic aspects of it that you couldn't have figured out ahead of just thinking about it. And ergo, the second prototyping rule, which is doing is the best kind of thinking. They teach you to think a lot in school, but I think it's a little bit overrated. Now, last example, actually, Google's not the first team that's tried to go make something like this. If you search for heads-up display, you get tons of images of teams that have built various systems like this. But I can tell you at a glance that none of these pieces of hardware are comfortable to wear for more than 15 minutes, except for maybe the helmet over there. But then you got to wear a helmet. So how would you go figure out a way to go wear something like this comfortably? The answer is really basic materials. Modeling wire, paper, clay, and using something like this, I was able to make something that looked like a pair of glasses really quickly. I cut out pieces of clay that weighed exactly the same amount as the electronic components that we were talking about putting on the device, wrapped it in paper so you didn't get clay on your face, and then taped it to the modeling wire in various places to go experiment with how a pair of glasses could fit on you. And we discovered something really important then. If you look at this drawing on the bottom, it turns out that the weight of a pair of glasses is actually mostly perceived through how much weight is on your nose. And it also turns out that your ears can carry a lot more weight than your nose, and that's a totally different experiment. You could ask me about that. But because of that fact, if you put weight behind your ears, it allows your ear to go act like the fulcrum of a lever, and it then takes weight off of your nose on the front. And actually, you guys can try this now. Anybody with glasses, if you push very gently on the back of your glasses, you'll find actually your glasses feel tremendously lighter. Now, this meant that we not only discovered something interesting about how to go, that's useful for developing a device like this, we actually discovered something pretty fundamental that had never been discovered about glasses, period. So if you have really heavy glasses, you can do this and you will be more comfortable. Now, the last point I want to make is about 2 types of learning. Because through the process of rapid prototyping, you're able to learn very, very quickly. But it's a very specific type of learning. The type of learning that you usually learn in school, I call book learning. It comes from what humanity already knows, and it's a necessary foundation for you guys to go explore the world. But there's a totally different type of learning, which I call expansive learning. And this is the learning that you do on behalf of humanity. Right? You are creating something new, you are expanding into the possibilities, and you're building that sphere of human knowledge in that process. And we think about these things, and as soon as you hear, okay, the infinite realm of possibilities beyond the sphere of human knowledge, you might be thinking, well, there's the scientists at the Large Hadron Collider and who have these amazing instruments. That's their job, right? But the truth is that this action is available to all of us. It's not just for the scientist, it's also for the poet or the songwriter that expresses an emotion for the first time in a unique way. It's also for the person that has an amazing business idea that they're certain can help millions of lives. And it's the realm of using paper, clay, and tape in order to go find a new insight in an ancient technology. So now that you guys know a lot about rapid prototyping, I'm excited to see what you'll do with it. Thank you.
Okay, any comments? Crystal, do you wanna say something?
Well, I just thought that the other day because I saw the whole Google Glass thing as well, and I just thought that was so cool, and just the way that they approach it, and they don't really, like, they treat it pretty straightforward and pretty simply. They don't make it really complex. They just get that really, like, fundamental problem and what they do.
Apparently, it's at the same time something really hard to convey, that just by prototyping you are able to go so fast into any kind of experience. And the thing here is that it's not that they are thinking about how to prototype the object, the product. He started talking about how to prototype the experience. What is it that someone is going to experience when they put their glasses on? And prototyping an experience is something that we normally think that it's not possible unless you have the direct experience of it. We have gotten to the point that at sometimes we're not even able to experience through literature or through music or through cinema, because we think that the only way is that you do it yourself. But human beings have been able to do that and to progress because other people have been doing other things, and we are able to experience through them. Otherwise, we will have to repeat every single act of culture, of our mental life, every single time, and nothing that humanity has done before would be useful. But it's because we are able to imagine through other people's and other experiences that we are able to progress so fast. And this is just a very good application of that, and something that engineers and designers say more and more: prototype, prototype, prototype. So for any kind of problem, any kind of essay, it doesn't matter if you're writing a book, prototype the idea, draw, do something with your hands. It keeps coming out in every single center of innovation, let alone the theme of costs and how many things you can discard because they are so cheap and you can start again. Second idea again, and people keep saying this and this all over again: the emotions and the feelings. If you are not able to empathize with the people who are going to use it, you are not getting anything out of it. You have to be able to empathize with people from all walks of life because they are the users. Okay, so being able to get in touch with your emotions, your feelings, is the only way to reactivate imagination. And by imagining, being able to live through other people's experiences, even before they live them, like in this case. Much of this is what you're gonna see in this lecture by Tina Selig, the author of Ingenious and crash course on creativity. Today and Thursday, we're gonna go through the main three themes that she organizes her courses on. First one has to do with framing and reframing problems, not only at the theoretical level, but how do you put that into practice, and how important the frame that you use completely determines the solutions that you are going to try to implement. Okay. Second is the idea of connecting ideas, connecting concepts, connecting objects to come up with new ideas, with new solutions. And the third principle, the third element we're going to work on is brainstorming. How brainstorming can help you to start your innovation engine and produce a huge number of ideas on any issue, as long as you follow the methodology accordingly to the experiences that they have already tested. Okay? So we're going to start watching the video, and then we're going to start practicing some of these ideas through several exercises. So get ready to do some work today.
What an amazing day filled with incredible ideas. So, where do these ideas come from? This is a question that I have been pondering for the last 35 years. Where do ideas come from? I started out as a neurophysiologist, poking little tiny cells with even tinier electrodes, seeing what they would tell me about creativity and innovation. After I finished my PhD, I went out to study and sort of learn all about creativity in the wild, working in big companies and small companies, even starting my own. And for the last almost 13 years, I've been at Stanford, teaching classes on creativity and innovation and entrepreneurship. And in my classes, I've done endless experiments with my students trying to figure out what is involved with unlocking creativity. What I've realized over the last few years is that we look at creativity in much too narrow a way. We really need to open the aperture and look at creativity in a very different light. And what I've done is put together a model that I'm going to basically explain to you in the next few minutes about all the things we need to unlock creativity. And I want to point out, before I take it apart, that this innovation engine, that's what I call it, has two parts. The inside is you, your knowledge, your imagination, your attitude. And the outside is the outside world, the resources, the habitat, and the culture. So let's start. Let's start where most people start. Most people start thinking about creativity by thinking about imagination. So let's start there. Now, imagination, one of the sad things is that we don't really teach people how to increase their imagination in school. And so there really are ways to increase our ability to come up with really interesting ideas. We have to go back to kindergarten to see where the problem is. If you're in kindergarten, it's very likely you'll get a question like this. What is the sum of 5 plus 5? So what's the answer to this? 10. You guys are really smart, right? Okay, we know it's 10 because there's one right answer to this problem. But what if we ask this question in a slightly different way? What if we ask, what two numbers add up to 10? How many answers are this to this? Infinite. Infinite number. And this is critically important and something that many of the speakers have brought up today, is that the way you ask the question determines the type of answers you get. The question you ask is the frame into which the answers will fall. And if you don't ask the question in a thoughtful way, you're not going to get really interesting answers. Consider the fact that the Copernican revolution came about by reframing the question, what if the Earth is not the center of the solar system? What if the sun is? And that opened up the entire study of astronomy. But you know what? You don't have to do this in such a serious way. You can practice it every single day with jokes. Because most jokes that we tell are interesting because the frame switches in the middle of the joke. Consider this, the Pink Panther, if you've seen this movie, he walks into a hotel, there's a little dog sitting on the carpet, he says to the hotel manager, does your dog bite? And the manager says, no, my dog doesn't bite. He reaches down, the dog basically attacks him. He says, what happened? He says, well, that's not my dog. Think about it. Whenever you hear a joke, you will find that almost always it's that the frame is switched in the middle. And it's a really fun way to practice framing and reframing problems. So that's one of the ways that you can increase your imagination, but there are other ways. One of the key ways is to connect and combine ideas. Most inventions in the world, most innovations come from putting things together that haven't been there together before, often in really unusual and surprising ways. One of my favorite ways to practice this is with the Japanese art of shindogu. Shindogu is the art of creating useless inventions. They're not useful, they're not useless, they're unuseless. And what they really are is a way of saying, there might be something here, but I'm not quite sure. So in this example with the umbrellas on the shoes, well, gee, it might not be very practical, but it unlocks some really, really interesting ideas. Speaking of shoes, here's another shindogu. Okay, little dustpans. Again, it might not be practical, but you know what? There's an interesting idea there. Again, you can use jokes for inspiration every single day. One of my favorite things, whenever I get the New Yorker, and I'm sure anyone who reads the New Yorker knows, the first thing you do is you open up the back cover and you look at the cartoon caption contest. The cartoon caption contest always puts things together that are not obvious, often things that are out of scale or things that would be very, very surprising to have in the same frame. And your job is to come up with a really creative way to connect these things in really interesting and surprising ways. So here's the caption for this cartoon. It is, we'll start you out here, then give you more responsibilities as you gain experience. Now, of course, you could come up with an endless number of other solutions. So those are two ways for you to increase your imagination, but there's another that I want to bring up today, and that is challenging assumptions. One of the biggest problems we have is that when we ask people questions and give them problems, they come up with the first right answer. And so we end up getting really incremental solutions. So what we do in our creativity class is we give problems that are really surprising, where there is not one right answer. So here's an example of one I just gave recently. This is the exact design brief. I gave this actually to a group of students at Osaka University, and their challenge was to create as much value as possible, value measured in any way they wanted, starting with the contents of one trash can. They had 2 hours to do it. How'd you like that to do that? One of the interesting things about this assignment, and I put a lot of thought into framing the problem beforehand, is that trash is actually has negative value, right? We actually pay people to take it away. So what happened is these students ended up spending quite a bit of time in advance of diving into the project thinking about what value meant for them. They thought about friendship and community and health and financial security, all sorts of things that ended up informing the way they thought about the trash cans that they were going to use to create some value. To raise the bar even further, I gave them a little bit more of a challenge. I told them that I had sent a note out, which I did, to my colleagues around the world, and invited their students to participate at the same time. So there were students in Europe, in Asia, in the US, and in Latin America, all doing the same project at the same time. So let me show you a couple of the things that resulted from this. A group in Ecuador started out with a garbage can filled with yard waste. Yard waste. I probably wouldn't have picked that trash can, but look what an amazing thing they did. They turned it into a beautiful mural. Or a girl in Ireland, her mom had just gone through her brother's sock drawer and had a whole trash can of old holy socks. You know what she did? They were all different colors, black, white, gray. She cut them up, sewed them together, and made this sweater. Pretty cool. I hope some of you will go through your sock drawers later today. So these are 3 things you can do to increase your imagination, right? Framing and reframing problems, connecting, combining ideas, and challenging assumptions. But unfortunately, this is not enough. You need to look at the other pieces of the innovation engine. And one of the next pieces on the inside is your knowledge. Your knowledge is the toolbox for your imagination. Today we heard all about medical breakthroughs and about autonomous vehicles. And why? How could they make this? These folks needed a depth of knowledge about medicine or about engineering to bring these ideas to life. Now, of course, you can learn things by going to school, by reading books. But one of the most powerful ways to learn things and to gain knowledge is by paying attention. Most of us do not pay attention to the world around us. Not only do we miss opportunities to see problems we can solve, but we also miss the solutions that might be in front of us. And one of my favorite ways to teach students this is to send them out into locations they've been to many times before and get them to look at them with fresh eyes. But I'm not the only one who does this. I want to tell you a quick story about a friend of mine, Bob Siegel, who's a professor here at Stanford, who taught a Stanford sophomore seminar for 2 weeks, and it was called the Stanford Safari. And the students basically over 2 weeks acted as if they were naturalists, as if they were just like Darwin and the Galapagos, but they were on the Stanford campus. And they talked to everyone they could to give a different point of view and perspective about Stanford, from the groundskeepers and the pest controller to the librarians and the organists and all the living Stanford presidents. They walked away not just with a deep understanding of Stanford, but an incredible appreciation for how important it is to pay attention. But imagination and knowledge are not enough. Every person needs to have the attitude, the mindset, the motivation, the drive to solve the problems they're going to solve. If you don't have that drive and that motivation, you're not going to connect and combine ideas. You're not going to reframe problems. You're not going to challenge assumptions and go beyond the first right answer. Most people, unfortunately, view themselves as puzzle builders. They basically see themselves as having a very defined task, and their job is to get all the pieces and put them together to reach that goal. But what happens? If you're a puzzle builder and you're missing 1 or 2 pieces, what happens? You can't reach your goal. True innovators, true entrepreneurs actually see themselves as quilt makers. They basically take all the resources they have around them. They leverage the things, even the garbage can, right? They leverage the materials they have that are available to them and create something that is surprising and really fascinating. This is incredibly important. We have to view ourselves as those who can leverage the resources we have around us to really make amazing things happen. So this is our internal combustion engine for creativity. Our knowledge is a toolbox for our creativity. Our imagination is the catalyst for the transformation of that knowledge into new ideas. And our attitude is the spark that gets this going. But unfortunately, that's not enough. And it's one of the reasons why there are so many amazingly creative people who are basically not living up to their creative potential, because they're not in environments that foster and stimulate and encourage this type of innovation. So we have to look at the outside of the innovation engine. Let's start first by looking at habitats. Now, habitats include several things. It's certainly the people you work with. It's the rules. It's the rewards. It's the constraints. It's the incentives. But even more than that, it's the physical space. Consider the fact that when we're little, when we're kids, we go to kindergartens. They're stimulating environments. You walk in, you know it's a place you're supposed to be creative. It's colorful. There are a lot of manipulatives. The room is very flexible. But unfortunately, you graduate from this type of environment and you get to go study somewhere like this. The chairs are lined up in rows and columns. They're bolted to the floor. And if you talk to anybody, you get in trouble. I have to tell you, I spent my entire growing up writing silence is golden, okay? And the fact is, we then get very upset because the students, they're just not so creative anymore, and everyone laments that. And then they are successful in this environment, and they go off to this environment where they work. And I know why you're laughing, because it's all too familiar. These type of offices were designed to be like prisons. And unfortunately, what happens is we again get very frustrated that the people who are working in these type of environments are not very creative. The thing is, the space we're in tells a story. Every space is the stage on which we play off our life. And it tells us what role we play, how we should act. I'm fortunate enough to teach at the D School, and these are actually some pictures from my class. Now, it might look like the kids are back in kindergarten. They're actually working on a very sophisticated problem here, as are the students in this picture. But the room is much more like a kindergarten space, with lots of manipulatives, lots of things to prototype. The room is set up, it's like a theater. We can set it up differently every 5 minutes, depending upon what we want to do. Nothing is bolted down. Really innovative firms know this as well. This is a picture from Google in Zurich. This is a picture from Pixar. These are not frivolous, because these are messages that the company is giving to the employees that's saying innovation, creativity, and playfulness are valued here. But this is not enough. We also have to think about the resources we have in our environment. And resources come in so many different flavors. Unfortunately, we think of resources as things like money. And money is a fabulous resource. We certainly benefit from it here at Stanford and Silicon Valley, but it's one of many resources that we have available to us. We need to look at the natural resources. We have to look at the processes we put in place. We have to look at the cultures we build. Unfortunately, I get a chance to see this happening in different places of the world. I was up in northern Chile recently, and it was absolutely spectacularly gorgeous up in the north of Chile. The beach was endless. It's a 3,000-mile beach, and the Andes are there. And I said to the people in this town of Antofagasta, gee, what's really getting in the way of your success? And this man said to me, well, it's a really horrible environment. I said, really? Did you look outside? Because they didn't see, they were trying to replicate the resources someone had somewhere else, as opposed to seeing the resources they already had. So here, picture of this city, think of the culture there. Culture is important. Culture is the last piece of the innovation engine. Culture is like the background music of any community, of any organization, of every team, of every family. And I'm going to play you 2 video clips to demonstrate this. Think of the music in these video clips as the culture in each of these scenes. I'm going to play the same clip twice. This is a clip from 1919 Coca-Cola bottling factory, okay? And I want you to think about how you feel, whether you would want to be there, and what you think is in those bottles. Okay, I'm going to go on to the next one. Okay, you got the point, right? So the fact is, this is the outside of your innovation engine. But let's put it all together. Now you might say, okay, Tina, that's really interesting, but how come you have this fancy Mobius strip here? You could have just had an inside and outside. But it's a Mobius strip because the inside and the outside are completely woven together, and nothing can be looked at in isolation. Let me show you how. Imagination and habitat are parallel here, because the habitats we build are the external manifestation of our imagination. If you can't imagine it, you can't build it. And in addition, the habitats we build directly affect our imagination, the way we think, the way we feel, the way we act. This is also true with knowledge and resources. The more we know, the more resources we can unlock. And the more the type of resources we have determine what we know, right? The more we know about fishing, the more fish we're going to catch. The more fish we have in our environment, the more likely we know about fishing. This is also true with attitude and culture. Culture is the collective attitudes of the community, and the culture clearly affects how each of us thinks. The wonderful thing, though, is this Mobius strip of the innovation engine is so powerful that you can start anywhere. If you're the manager of an organization, you can think about the culture and set the culture. You can build habitats that stimulate the imagination. If you're an individual, you can start by building your base of knowledge. You can start with a passion and attitude that you're going to solve a problem. You can start anywhere to get this innovation going. The most important thing is that everyone has the key to their innovation engine. It's up to them to turn it. Thank you.
Okay, any ideas from here? Here.
No.
Any comments or ideas you want to share? You're saying something? No? You're saying something?
That's an exceptional video.
It's very well done. It's really good. It's really good. Yeah. Let's just start playing a little bit so you wake up. Make my life easy. Oh. And there are 3 there. 2, 3? I don't know. You have 1 there? Okay, we're gonna work on the idea of framing. We're gonna go back to the source of the idea, where it came from and why they started playing with that idea specifically in that time. And we're going to try to use it to reframe some problems. You gonna play? Okay, I'm gonna start by looking at a painting and try to decide a few things about the painting. Depending on your own experiences and what you are seeing, there is no right answer to this. There is no right answer to the point that critics are still discussing what the painting is about and why he painted that way and not some other. You're welcome. Okay. So here we have, where is this? This painting, okay? Can you go? Does anyone know what this is? You don't have to know, but just in case, you don't count. That students, they just learned it last month. Don't think that they knew it when they were born. Okay, this is called the Maids of Honor, and in Spanish it's called Las Meninas. Meninas is an old word that is still used in Portuguese and mean young women. Okay, so if you look up Meninas in Google, you will have all kinds of images of things that you don't wanna see. Okay, but you can also have this. The painter is Diego Velázquez, who was the painter of Philip IV. Okay, remember that in this time, one of the ways in which kings would show their power was through art, through bringing into the court the most important artists around the place. In this case, Philip IV was competing with the French king mainly, and with many of the powerful noblemen and cardinals in Italy. Okay, so he would bring engineers from Italy, from France, opera composers, people to do their gardens, all kinds of public works, and also painters. Okay, in the way in which big companies do this today, by adding value to their either stock or their prestige through artists of all kinds. So the first thing, one more thing. What is the painting about? The Maids of Honor is a title that someone gave to the painting much later, when they have to do a catalog for the things that they were in the royal palace. A guy was there and said, what is it that we have here? What paintings do we have? And he got to this painting and said, okay, this doesn't have a name. We know that it was painted in 1656 and that it was painted by Velázquez, one of the most important artists painters in art history. But Velázquez didn't give a name, or if he gave it, we don't know it. Okay? This guy would live in the palace and he would just work for the king, producing several things. For instance, they won a battle and he would paint something related to that battle, or a new discovery, or anything that he wanted, any religious festivity. So the thing is, what is this about? We know that this is Margaret Theresa, one of the daughters of the king and the queen, and this is all that we know. Some of the most important art critics in history have said that this painting is the theology of painting, or the philosophy of vision. Okay? Even if what we have here looks like a portrait, a family portrait, or a set of portraits. So interpretations are completely open. This is all we know. Look all around the painting and try to come out with a title for the painting. A sentence or a word that would somehow summarize what you are seeing. And from here we're going to try to walk through some people think that this painting is about. Okay, I'm going to pull it into small pieces and then pull it back together and see what is the importance of the frame and of framing and how we see and why they were concerned with this problem back then. Okay, so 1 minute to do the title, and once you finish, red titles here, green titles there, please. Okay, stick to the board. Okay. Too easy. Too easy, and I will dispute that title. The first problem is, how would you name this that you are seeing? So I would like, and then I'm going to ask you, what is it that you are seeing behind the title? Why did you capture that? Okay? Think of it like the New Yorker cartoon thing. So we're going to try to see what you see behind the whole thing, and at the same time, how much the problem changes depending on the titles, even if we are in front of the same thing. If you haven't seen this in the real settings, it's in the Prado Museum in Madrid. It's like 3 meters and 20 centimeters high and over 2 meters wide. So it's quite a large painting. And these days it's almost impossible to watch because there's always a cloud or several clouds of tourists in front of it. So what did you see there? Phil, green there. Okay, be brave.
Little girl getting wheeled.
You're doing two.
Well, one of them.
You are the okay. Okay. The creepy.
Wait, this is.
And they are all different. Fitting. Little Princess. Half by painting taking. Reflection. The King's Daughter. Feminism. Wow. Play date. Okay. I have two titles. Two titles. Okay. First impressive things. I think that there are not two titles which are the same. They're completely different. Some of them are similar, but we have. This is the first repeated title. Okay, have the children. Okay, the children. Who answers something related to the children? How many children are there in the painting? Yanni? 5. Where are them? 1? 2?
That's a woman.
Good point. That could be a woman.
She's on her.
She could be a child.
She could be a child or a woman. Okay, 2. I'll give you that credit. Where are the other 3? Is this a child?
That's an ugly child.
3, maybe. This is one of the maid of honors. She's not a child anymore. So, okay, you have to.
I was more looking to the child because like instead of being multiple children.
Okay, so paying attention to the child. Okay, fair enough. A way of seeing. Good to see that you are seeing there. Children. That's okay. A girl's birthday. Okay. Can you explain, please? Where's the cake? The present. What's the present? The dog is the present. Okay. Dress up. Dress up. I think this is probably the way in which royal families would dress in that time. To what extent this was a special occasion? And we'll talk a little bit about the temporal aspects of the painting, because those are really interesting as well. Okay, on this side, Little Princess. The princess is the princess, I guess. You're not talking about the nun or this guy here that people have been struggling to find out who he is or not. People say that this was the confessor of the king or something. So the princess, okay, main character. Who wrote, or who want to defend that this doesn't have to be the person who wrote Little Princess, that this is what the painting is about? Why? Doesn't have to be your option, but if you have to defend it, why would you say that this is about that little girl? Yanni?
She's the only one kind of looking, besides that guy in the right-hand corner, the creepy child, the weird, she's like looking right at you. She's the only one with kind of light colors on her face, reflections. She's easy to identify. She's in the center.
So you're talking about this?
Talking about the girl right right in the middle.
This girl, how she's looking at you?
Yeah. So,
Okay. And sort of the light that she's receiving.
yeah, it's like impressions.
Okay. Okay.
The blonde hair also makes her stand out.
The blonde hair. But why did you see the blonde hair? Can you say the colors of the other hairs of other people there?
Well, the other one, like I guess the one on the second.
This the ugly guy, the ugly girl. Okay.
Could be one, I guess.
Okay. Why did you see those colors and not the others?
That's just the brightness.
The brightness. Okay. Where's the light coming from?
The window.
The window or the windows? Exactly.
The window on the right.
On the right. And we'll see if there are more windows. Okay. Later on. So where the light is coming from and where the light is focusing says a lot about how our attention is captured and what we think is the main theme of the painting. But we'll go deeper into this. Child murderer. Wow.
What?
Child murderer. Child murderer. Okay, it's playing a little bit.
She looks like she's got a secret.
So of course it's murder.
It's probably that.
There's a girl from the
Okay, no. What's the secret? Tell us a little more about the secret.
Well, she just looks evil. Maybe it's just me. But I can picture her lashing out and killing everyone around her. She looks like she's a little spoiled and used to getting her way. So if one of them crosses her, she'll just cut them.
It's the daughter of the king. Yeah. Okay, good. She's trying to imagine a story behind the character. That's one of the things we're going to try to do later. So that's a good point. Little girl getting wheel. Wow. Ladies in the light. Ladies in the light. Ladies in the light. Who is defending that? Okay.
When I heard maids of honor, I just thought it was like mainly about the women, and when I look at the women, it looks like they're all in the light. So.
Okay. Okay. One of the most important things about the painting, no matter how you interpret it, is the role of the light, of illumination, in all this.
cheating.
Okay, so that's going to be a very important point in how we interpret the whole thing. Reflection, that has to do also with the light and with something else. Who wrote reflection? What are you talking about exactly?
I was looking at this where he left the door, looks like a mirror, looks like reflecting our view as the viewer.
Okay, can you expand a little bit on that? So this is a mirror?
I view it as a mirror, yeah. Like we're looking in and taking the things, like we're framed in the box of the painting as well as the artist deliberately incorporated that painting on the left into his frame view, so it's painted.
This painting here?
Yeah.
So there's a painting here?
We're kind of framed in painting or mirror, whatever it is, and the mirror is kind of reflecting back in our viewer. Kind of like they're looking back at us.
Okay. Did you get all those ideas? So this is a mirror. Do you agree? This is a mirror?
I think he intentionally painted so it could be like so the viewer doesn't know if it's a mirror or a window or it's just I don't know, it could be a painting or it could be a window that they feel like from behind.
Okay.
Or it could be a reflection.
Okay. One.
Did he paint himself into that picture?
He is the painter. Yeah. He's the painter.
He just photobombed himself.
Autobiography.
Yeah.
Before Facebook.
But so, would that be him painting the audience?
Okay, that's an important point. We'll discuss about that. But who is the audience? The ladies? So what is he painting here?
If he's painting that.
He's painting that?
Like that could be a mirror of that painting that he's painted.
Where is the mirror?
That, you were just saying that's a
This mirror?
that could be a mirror of the painting that you're painting right there, right?
Okay. Stop. Okay, this is a mirror. You have two figures here
Of that painting.
of this painting. Could be. Okay, arguments for and against.
The angles are off.
The angles are off. There are I don't know how many articles trying to get right the physics of that. where the mirror should be and where the model should be in order to be reflected here. So there's an important discussion about that. Okay, that's a good point. Yanni?
I didn't think there was a painting of me on the left hand side. I thought it was like an open door.
This one here?
Yeah. No. The left. Beside the creepy painting. No. The very left of the painting.
This one?
Yeah.
No, this is the frame.
Oh.
The initial and the canvas. And think that these are the tools of the painter. Okay, this is a brush and this is the palette. And this is Velázquez. That we know for sure. Okay?
Why is he standing so far from the canvas then? This is his painting.
Stepping back to look at his
Okay.
To look at, no, stop. To look at what? To look, what is he looking at?
big picture.
No, don't, you don't have to figure out anything. Just look at the painting. Who is, or what is he looking at? Is he looking at the canvas?
He's looking at the girls.
He's a perverted. He's not looking at the girls. Is he looking at the girls? No. He's looking at us. Exactly. He's looking at us. And who is us? Us is anyone who stands in front of the painting. So what is he saying? He's painting you. He's giving you the life that you have as you are looking into the painting. Okay? The question is, or one of the questions is whether or not, if we assume the hypothesis, one of the hypotheses of the mirror, these are supposed to be the king and the queen. Okay? They're very similar to several renderings of them that we have in other paintings. In that time, a king was a really important figure. You wouldn't play with either the king or any ideas about the king or nothing similar to what a politician or president, no matter how powerful it is, because since it was an aristocratic society divided into classes, you were not even able to address the king. Okay? So is he really playing with the figure of the king and the queen, with the figure of the monarchy? Was he painting the king and the queen who are in front of the canvas here, while the family is just looking at the model that he is using? So are the king and the queen here? The daughter is looking as we look when you are seeing someone be taking a photograph, and then that's why they are reflected, badly reflected here, with problems of optic, if you want. Could that be an option? I don't say that it is. I want you to consider if the king and the queen are here and they are the models, what implications does that have if anyone can replace the king and the queen as the beholder of the painting? What is he talking about?
Maybe that for any given person, there's multiple interpretations.
For any given person?
For any given person, there's multiple interpretations. It's like you're the king or the queen of your own interpretation of how you do the painting.
Yeah, and not only of your painting, of the world. Every single person is a distinctive point of view on the world, no matter what. And this is something that you cannot avoid. Every single person is a perspective, a point of view. We have gone through a time in which the peak of the pyramid would give the interpretation of the whole world, of what things were, how they have been, how they have to be, to a moment in which he's saying, whoever who stands into the right position will give life to the image through a different perspective. And by looking and by creating a perspective, you are creating a world. You are creating a world of life that he's showing here. But depending who is in front of the painting, looking at it, he or she will have a different interpretation of what they are seeing and how this is being seen. Now, there is another twist to it, which is, if we are playing with the mirrors and he's looking at you and you are looking at it and you're looking at the mirror, how do you create those perspectives? What is it that you are creating every single time that you're looking at it? Is the painter creating you? Is he, every single time this painting be reenacted? And if we were to have some kind of modeling computer, he would be painting the painting again, because the model would be changing as the beholder changes. This painting would be different. Maybe this, if he got it right, would be different or not. So what is it that you are creating when you are giving someone the power to look, to create the world? What is it that he or she looks, and how much the frame influences what we are able to see? Okay? These are some of the things that we have to think about. And all this provided that none of the interpretations that you have given are incorrect, because those things are in the painting. The children are here, maybe the murderer is not here, but the birthday, why not? This can be a birthday party or any kind of celebration. So all the things you have said, the illumination, they are all here. But are there more things? Are there a different point of view, a different painting, a different rendition of the world outside from every single perspective of the characters? And then when you are multiplying the points of view, when you have eliminated the single point of view, you have opened up the world to be created in many different ways. So the next natural step is that not only every character is a point of view, every beholder is a new point of view, recreating the painting. So the interpretation goes both ways. He's painting you, and he's giving you life by creating this perspective and putting you in the center. But at the same time, when you are looking, you are creating the painting. You are recreating the world that it's inside here. Okay? Some of the techniques here have to be with illumination, you have seen, coming from here. Others have to be with a vanishing point of view. This is another discussion of the critics, whether this has two different vanishing points here. Another one has to do with whether there is a plane here, and this image gets somehow reflected in an inverse form in the external world every single time we look at it. Okay? And there are also the trick that they started at the end of 16th century of making the characters look at you in the eye. Remember that there is no more powerful act of a human being than looking another human being in the eye. And that through that you are able to see everything happening there, or many of the things. Why? Because the brains and the emotions work like mirrors, and whatever they are seeing in your eyes, you are seeing in them, and the other way around. Okay? So they start doing that, and by looking at you, they make you the main character, the protagonist of the film. You feel asked when you look at these kind of paintings, because they are, almost all of them are looking at you, and whoever is outside the painting. Those are really very important aspects of this painting, which is probably about seeing, about perspectives, about lights, about points of view, about all those things, and about the frame as well. Think about the importance of this piece here to create certain effects, of this frame here, of the frame of the door, the back door here, the frame of the windows, and some of the frames that we haven't talked about yet because the quality of the image is not very good, of the other paintings, which are real paintings that were in this room in the Royal Palace. Okay, the quality here is not very good. All the reality here is framed into frames. So depending on the frame that you choose, you are seeing something different. It's like watching a full movie into a static image. You can choose what you are gonna watch. And if you think of it, it's really difficult to have all these perspectives, all these interpretations at the same time in your head and make them all compatible, because we normally work in sequential frames, and having more than one at the same time is really difficult. But one of the most important skills that you have to be able to develop. Hold on your mind 2 or 3 points of view at the same time, 2 perspectives, because that way you are seeing the complexity of whatever problem or whatever scene, whatever landscape, human landscape you are working on. Okay, this is about the titles. Now let's do a second exercise. You don't have to right now, but I'm gonna need like 5 to 10 volunteers who are willing to pick up one of the characters and tell a little story about them in 2 or 3 sentences. What is it that you imagine out of these people? Pick a character, write a couple of lines, 3 lines, of whatever they suggest you or you want to recreate through them. Okay? So let's get started. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay? 2 minutes. Do you want this? Taking notes to do it? Yes? Okay. Pass in red this time. Green. Has to have the form of a narration, even if it's only three sentences. Write a story. That's what you're doing.
Yeah, you know, you gotta really, you know what you're doing. That's what
The Peeping Tom title was very well directed. The Watchers too. Is for war. Okay. Okay. Green.
Still got one better. What's the guy's name?
Who's guy? Diego Velázquez. But you can invent the name. Doesn't matter. Are you writing something? Or are you here because it's cold outside? The matador, princess grow up. She no longer can. Okay, we have 3 characters here and a 4th that we're going to talk about in detail. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Yeah. Which character did you?
King and queen.
Okay, this is a different one. You put it here. King and queen. Which character did you choose?
I picture like the nun and that other.
Okay, this is new too. Thank you. Any other character? Writers? Nothing there? No creativity? I see. Okay, we have once the king. Okay, king and queen.
There's the guy walking upstairs in the back.
Okay, he's here.
Yeah, why's the guy walking up?
The guy at the back door? Yeah, here. Okay, that guy is popular. Yeah, he's popular. He's creating a lot of attention there. Okay, let's start with the princess. Little princess, no, sorry, with the nun of another person. The nun, probably the confessor of the queen and the confessor of the king. Okay. These guys were not the confessors in the normal sense that we understand them today, not because they didn't have those, but because they mainly would serve as spiritual and ethical, theological advisors when they have to decide something related to the high politics of the kingdom. For instance, whether or not getting into war with another French Catholic king would be appropriate if both monarchs were Catholic. Okay, and what are the implications of that, and all those things. So the nun and the other person are gossiping, probably, or coming up with some evil plan. Okay, that's very likely. And we have the first thread of Kurt's intrigue happening through those 2 guys on the right-hand side of the painting. The king and the queen, watching over their daughter, ensuring she's being treated well by the household servants, also making sure she doesn't lose composure, because the secret they keep is that she's not their true daughter. Several of you have hit on that idea. I wouldn't make a Freudian psychoanalytical interpretation of those things. Okay, the true daughter, the writing is smaller and smaller. Yeah, hair to the throne. Okay, she's blonde, not groom hair. Brown. Okay, brown hair. Okay, good point. And I was thinking, could women be queens? And they were able to be. I think there is something called the Salic law in European countries, most of them, by which female heirs wouldn't have the right to access the throne. Okay, but I think that they didn't have this in this time. So she's not the true daughter, and she doesn't have the rights to the throne. Okay. That's the secret. And apparently the other part of the class figured out who the real father is, according to some of the stories. Okay, the king is overseeing the day's events, keeping an eye on the happenings from afar, keeps a balanced life between duties and family, cares deeply for his children, upstanding and respectable. You are the publisher of the marketing guy for the Crown. Who wrote this? Krista. The king. He's a real king. They don't exist. Okay, the painter, Diego Mustacho. I wake up, warmy mustache. It's supposed to be a story in English, okay? with verbs and things in the middle.
He waxes his mustache.
Oh, he waxes his mustache.
Oh my god.
Okay. It's first person, singular.
Well, I guess the guy, yeah.
No, it doesn't matter. It's not you. You're
The guy.
exactly the guy. You are just the boy. It's giving life to him. I paint to fulfill a long lost void in heart. Nobody will appreciate me until I die. Okay. This is becoming tragic.
Well, it's true.
Oh my God! And then we go into the. I get laid at the local tavern. Do you know the Muffin Man? Okay, there are a lot of things going on here. Okay, princess. Oh, princess. Sorry, I missed this. Princess grew up with everything she could want. She no longer cared about her servants. Probably she never did. Or her material things. Every day was the same. Her life is all planned out. That's probably true. She's watching her own life. Okay? Interesting? King, queen. Okay, this is the princess. The most popular guy. Okay. Men walking upstairs. The girls are lost in the reflection. They will ever change. None has time for that. Dinner is served. Okay. Any clarifications about that? Especially the dinner part. Anyway, the man at the door is one of the king and queen's henchmen. He's spying on Velasquez, eyeing him with murder as his painting is off. Velasquez is doing something wrong. Do you think that Velasquez is doing something wrong? Suspicious? You write this, Jenny?
No, I didn't even know that.
I think so.
Oh, what got suspicious about him?
I don't know. It's just there's like a setup, but the painting's this way, and there's reflection. Something's wrong.
Something is wrong with him, exactly.
And that guy is like the focal point, and he's looking at.
For you, he's the
No, the middle guy.
the middle guy. He's the focal.
He's the focal point.
He's the vantage point in terms of the perspective of the painting. So
He's like highlighted
yeah.
with white light.
Imagine how different this would be. He would have painting just a plain wall, close. You feel like in a cube, completely close. But here he opens up the imagination of the viewer by opening up the line of sight. It's a really, and again, the light is behind. As the light is behind, the light is what makes you see, but you never see, because we don't pay attention to the light. Okay, so very interesting guy at the door. That little girl is too spoiled. I don't get paid enough to pretend she's cute. I am out of here. One question. Did you write that one?
No.
Okay. Is he coming in or coming out? Coming in. Why? He could be leaving.
It looks like he's leaving. He's turned away.
Door is open.
He's facing us. He's coming in.
No, but
He's
you
not
have
facing us. He's
like
facing
sideways.
Yeah, but obviously you have to pull the door to open it.
He's like looking back.
He's not backing out.
Looking back.
He's coming in the door's open.
Door is open, but we don't know if he's using the arm just to push the door or just because he's turning. And he said bye. And the game it has to do with the way in which he captures time in the painting. We're talking about the space mainly and the characters, but the thing with time is almost as important in the way that he spans the imagination and the space that he creates here. Okay, this exercise is not random in the sense that there are people who have tried to recreate what was going on here when he was painting this. If this scene ever existed, because that's something that we don't know. It's like when you are taking a picture and you hire someone or one of your friends take a picture of you, it's just a second. So it's something really going on there, even if we recreate and reinterpret whatever we see there from outside. But probably you see the picture say, nothing was happening, really. This was a random painting, a random picture, okay? Backdoor man lurking in the shadows is jealous that his daughter, not the king's daughter, is not the princess of Spain. He's hungry and is planning a plot to overtake the kingdom to become king. Okay. Political intrigue here. Man in doorway, little girl's father who gave her the dress as a present before he leaves for war. He looks at her and laments that he won't live to see her wedding day. Another interesting thing. And they are very interesting in the sense that you are projecting beyond what is here in terms of the space and the time. And this is a very difficult thing to do, okay, as you will see in a moment. Guy at back, he's the father of the blonde girl. He has a shady career but has a lot of wealth. That's true. If that's the character we think that he is, he was part of the court. He's a terrible father. Okay, I wouldn't say that much. How come no one ever invites me to the fancy dress parties? Creepy guy in doorway. Okay, mysterious guy in back. Random courtier in the king's palace. Twist. He's the illegitimate father. Are father illegitimate or only children? No, seriously, I was wondering right now. Father of the blonde-haired girl princess. The king doesn't know this, however. He's longing for the daughter that cannot be his. Okay? Who wrote this one? Green. This is the name of the character? Or twist?
No, it's like plot twist.
Oh, plot twist. Yeah. Okay, then I was going to save you from this. But now I'm going to ask you, on behalf of the whole class, why nobody gave a name to the character? The first thing you do when you have a dog or a cat or anything live, I wouldn't say a child, is to give it a name. Because you need a name to relate to any living thing.
Everyone did give a name though. They all said like mysterious guy at the back or like they all identify him by something.
Yeah, that's a point. But the thing is that you're identifying him with an abstract idea, with like a trace of the character. But have you read or watched any film in which the characters don't have names?
Yes.
How are they?
They're addressed in the same kind of way that we address them.
They are allegorical characters, so they don't have life. They are personifying an idea of that trace that you have extracted. Okay, but in order to give it blood and flesh, you need a name. It's like the first thing. That doesn't matter what the names, Anthony or Count of whatever. But the name is really important. And the same thing when you are talking to someone, to try to empathize with him or with her. You need to know the name and to know some of the story, of the history behind him or her. Because otherwise you are sort of dealing with an object, with someone who is not completely a person, when they don't have a name, when they don't have a story. Okay? So, good. And now, two important pieces concerning an important character. Although the story is a little... Okay, for our colleagues, the main character is the dog. And this is important because the dog occupies a large space in the painting and it's on the forefront. So the dog is there. The dog is also you cannot see here, but the dog is also looking at the beholder. So the dog is there, it's a character. What is he doing? He's looking down a little bit. Okay, it's quite a large dog. He's thinking that he's gonna eat these little girls. That's a little stretch. Sort of a sleepy dog. And then this dog, which doesn't have a name either, can talk, and he said, "Woof, bark." But it has a voice. It has a voice in the story. Okay? So with all these things, you have the skeleton of a novel, of a large story about something that happens in a second. Just by taking the time and the imagination to try to impersonate each of the characters you have here and try to leave them some life through a name, through a story. You're just empathizing with something that in this case doesn't even exist. So try to do this when you are trying to solve any problems. And now that people who were thinking about things that were not happening here, that either happened before because this is the illegitimate father of the illegitimate girl, or he's going to war because he's leaving, he's escaping, or things that don't happen here, or are going to happen right after we leave, or the image disappears as it is now. Think, just for a second, you don't have to write anything, of a friend of them, of the character that you pick, who is not here, who is not in the picture. Forget about the picture. But you were building a story, you were trying to form it, and now you want to get with them out of the room, and what is it that they are going to do? Where are they going after they move out of here? Are you going to say something important, or I'm looking at your face? Okay, try to do the next step. Think of it as a network in which you are connecting to the next level. Okay? So in the same way in which you are thinking about what you are doing right after you leave here, or even before you leave, what is it that they are thinking? What are they going to do? How, or what do their friends look like? Okay? A couple of volunteers. Who wants to say something about their friend? Do they have a friend? Are they going to play? Is he going to go to drink, or to be late in the local tavern?
The nun has a friend.
The nun has a friend, or an enemy. You can think of an enemy as well, or a former lover, or the lost love of your life. Of
Lesbian nun friend.
Nuns are very. Okay, how is he look like, or how is he?
She's older, and no, she's younger, and the nun's gonna tell about all the gossip that happened in that room, and the other nun's gonna giggle.
Okay, fair enough. And things that happen, because having the insight on what was going on near the palace and the activities of the king were as important as they are today in any close circle of power. Any other character?
Yeah, the guy going out or leaving.
Okay.
I say he's leaving.
He's leaving?
A blonde wife, and the king had an affair with her, so he's going to kill her right now. And the painter, they're buddies, and as soon as he leaves, he's going to massacre everyone.
Okay.
That's my prediction.
Okay. The king who. Okay. He's the painter, but the king was famous for being very good friends with the actresses of the royal theaters. So instead of the painter, you could be talking about Calderón, one of the main playwrights of the time. And this king in particular had several affairs with some of his actresses. So good point. Yanni?
I was gonna say that the girl whispering, she's probably like begging that little girl to like go play with her or something. That little girl's like, no, I got mine.
Okay. Gang, social relationships.
I just realized that girl's got her leg on the dog. Like,
yes.
That sort of thing. So yeah, but like you wouldn't do that unless you're familiar with a dog. So maybe all three of them might go play.
Okay. We're playing after that. Okay. Any other idea about what's going to happen right after, or that very evening? No ideas? Okay, we have located through several exercises the two missing pieces that normally, or normal people, don't pay attention to when we are looking at this painting. One is the dog. Okay, the dog is here, is pretty eminent, but we normally don't see him or her. The other thing is the beholder. It's us. That's the most important thing of this painting. Missing person is every single person that watches the painting every single time. It's also a recreation of the idea that a work of art or any human reality doesn't exist until a human being reads the novel again, or watches the film, or sees the painting. They just don't exist. It's the recreation in the presence of one of us that makes all these great masterpieces what they are. And of course the power that they have on us. But this is sort of how to think of those ideas and make them real and concrete to a specific art. Okay? Now, last exercise here. What time is it? 3:15. What do you see if there is no human character there? Or the dog? So the room is empty. Imagine that the room is empty. What's left in there? Danny?
The canvas in the mirror, probably you might be able to see the canvas in the mirror, depending on the room being seen or standing.
Okay, the king and the queen are not there anymore.
Yeah, so what I'm saying is maybe if they move out of the way, I don't know. Is it
No, nobody's there, except you looking at the painting. We just, okay. Light, okay, light.
I was gonna say, like, if that's a painting, then would they still be there? Like, that's a reflection of the painting.
This one here?
Yeah, if that's like a reflection of the paint, that painting right there, would that still be there?
If that's a reflection of the painting, somehow there would be some image here. The trick here is how is it that we don't see the back of the painter. But let's see that it's a good reflection of whatever he's painting. Then you would see something here. If it's a mirror and it's a reflection of let's say that the king and the queen are the models here. So they are being here, they are in the mirror, they're here. When they leave, they are not in the mirror anymore. The presence disappear. Maybe they would be in the canvas. Yeah. So, what did you see there?
If there is no one in the painting.
If there is?
If there is no one in the painting.
If there is no one in the room.
Oh, no one in the
You're talking about the real painting or the painting in the painting? That's an important point.
Well, if there's no one in the room, then the painting will be like empty frames.
Okay, set of empty frames. Do you see any objects there? Are there any material things? Because we are talking about people, ideas, stories, light, biographies. Are there things, material things? Painter tools?
I think there's like a chandelier maybe.
A chandelier, yeah, chandelier that you cannot see very well here somewhere. Other paintings. What else? A mirror. What else? Sunny? The door. Okay, Yanni?
Stairs.
Stairs. So
paintings, floors.
Paintings, all that part.
Could be sitting on chairs.
They're maybe sitting on chairs. It's more of the effect of the kind of dress. Okay. Probably there was nothing there, but we will work on that on Thursday because there are several ideas on how. So there are a lot of things here. The walls, this part of the windows. The thing is, why didn't you see them at the beginning, or you decided not to put your attention on it? Sunny?
There are people on the painting.
Because there are people on the painting and they take all of our attention, especially because they are looking at us. Again, fixing your eyes on someone else is like an automatic attraction. It's something that you cannot avoid. Someone look at you in the eye and either you will look back or you will try to lower your head to avoid that kind of thing. There are a lot of explanations in terms of social life and recent discoveries that some neuropsychologists have done regarding what they call mirror neurons. Okay, how we mirror the behavior of people looking at us. We'll work on that on Thursday, and we'll also go into other details about the painting and how they will help us to think of framing and reframing problems. Okay, thank you.